awesome. Episode 69, Stay Classy podcast. Here we go. Can't believe it's been 69 episodes so far. Rob, try to keep it mature.
Hey.
Okay. Ashtyn, thanks for coming on the show. We have Ashtyn Zerboni here today, and Ashtyn is a model. She's a photographer. She is a creative director. She's also a practicing realtor now, and she also works at Sidebar here in San Diego. So before we get into some of her specific accomplishments and credentials, I just wanted to start off the topic with something that I feel like is very topical for models and something that I was interested in knowing when we were preparing for this interview, which is, so for the majority of models, or for the majority of people, I think there's the perception that models suffer from self-esteem issues, mental health issues. And in fact, there are some statistics to back this up. I was looking up this morning, apparently something like close to 70% of models have anxiety or depression. Close to, I think, 40% have some kind of eating disorder. So which is compared to 10% like the regular adult population. So that's quite a big difference. So what is from your insider's perspective in the industry, what is your perspective on mental health, mental illness rates among models? Do you kind of see that firsthand, or is that not really been your experience in the industry?
I definitely have seen it firsthand. I mean, like I said before, kind of the self-esteem, it kind of comes from, what would I say? The parameters that they try to put models in, especially before, I feel like it's kind of not so much anymore where people are putting you in this box if you have to be, this height, this size, this weight. Not so much anymore. I mean, I have it in a different way now than I did before, where I'm Native American and Scottish, British, Irish, but this modeling agency I was working with wanted me to dye my hair brown and for me to talk about how I was oppressed as being a Native American. And I told her, I look like a white girl. I was not oppressed as being a Native American. And I'm sorry, I cannot speak on that. But that kind of weighed heavily on my mind, that they wanted, to kind of use oppression as a way of exploiting me and, and
use
that
your
kind
identity.
of use my identity as a way for them to profit. And I didn't enjoy that.
Yeah.
As for, I will say that I'm definitely hard on myself. I will look in the mirror and maybe where I think I look fat, another girl will be like, what are you talking about? No, you're not. And then I will run, 6 miles a day and I will eat really healthy. And I definitely push my limits, but I wouldn't say that it's caused me mental health issues. I will say that I just feel like I push myself to be the best version of myself. And for some people that can cause it. I do know that.
But when you hear those statistics of 70% anxiety or depression, do you, the people that who are other people who know who are models, is that that checks out? I see that in the industry, or does that sort of surprise you? I don't really.
I feel like it does check out. I do. I mean, I have a lot of. I know a lot of people with eating disorders or who've coped with them, and so I definitely think that statistic would check out. Sadly.
Yeah, and what about so the perception of models, the constant stress of having to look good and having to put on that. Have that sort of be your identity while you're in the profession. Does that, how do you personally not let that define you to the point where you do your work, you're professional, but at the same time you go home and you're comfortable with who you are, you wake up in the morning, you're satisfied with yourself. How do you sort of compartmentalize the work version of Ashtyn versus being comfortable with yourself in regular life?
I would say that they kind of have become the same. I take a lot of pride in my appearance. I wake up in the morning, I get ready. Personal hygiene is really important to me. Keeping your teeth nice, keeping your hair clean, keeping your skin clean, skincare routine. And I just feel like all of those things, as much as, yes, it is a lot of work for me to get up every day, do my hair, do my makeup, put on nice clothes, but it also makes me feel good. It makes me feel more confident. And I feel like even at home when I'm just alone with my husband, I want to look good for him too.
Sure.
As well. So it's just I just enjoy it. It's something that I really take pride in. And I wouldn't say that I just it's not so much of a chore as it is just kind of something that makes me feel good in my daily life.
Would you say if you had to put it one way or the other, that modeling has impacted your mental health overall, net negative, net positive, or is it kind of neither?
For me, it's been nothing but positive. I grew up an ugly duckling. I had headgear and braces and glasses, and I was a theater nerd. And I didn't know for a long time that once all those things came off that I was pretty, because I was so used to being the one that was made fun of. And I just felt like once I got scouted walking through a mall, and I was like a sophomore in high school, I think. And they asked me to come in and audition for something for modeling. And I was like, I don't know. I'm not pretty. I didn't end up getting that, but that was my first little audition. Yeah, not me. The second time I got scouted that it actually came to fruition with something is I was performing on stage in downtown Fresno at this place called Roger Ruckus. It was a dinner theater that I was paid to do when I was kind of in a young age. And it was right after the braces came off and the headgear. And they approached me. It was like a scout in there. Hey, we want you to model for our orthodontics book for your smile. And I was like, really? You guys want me to be on the cover for my smile? No way. And it just kind of started to snowball from there to where I started doing more modeling. So many more doors started opening for me. I actually had my first magazine cover 2014 when I was 17 years old. That was sent to pretty much everybody all over Fresno. One of my friends brought it up recently. It was the Central Valley Lifestyle magazine. I was about 17 years old, and it just from there started traveling the world for modeling. Just so many doors. It's done nothing but good things for me, and it definitely has only made my mental health better, not worse.
That's crazy that you're just like walking through a mall and they're just like, Is that really what they do? They just like send scouts out and they pick
that
pretty people?
For me. I'm not sure how many other people have had similar experiences, but I've heard of it in the past.
Yeah.
It's more rare, but.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't found Rob yet, so I mean,
not
they're
me.
out doing their job.
I do have a quick question though, or really, do we want to maybe take a second and explain what a magazine is for Gen Alpha? Is that no?
I was kind of shocked by that question, but oh my God, that hasn't even dawned on my mind. Am I old?
Barnes and Noble got rid of their magazine section 4 or 5 years ago now. So I'm pretty sure there's not that many magazines that even really exist anymore.
I should have brought it. It's all beat up, but I still kept it as a memento.
I'm borderline Gen Z millennial, so I'm right there.
I think I'm a Gen Z.
Yeah?
I know.
Okay, yeah.
I'm borderline
I feel like the definition is loose too.
It's loose, but I've definitely been called both based on the year that I was born. So.
Do you so you could speak from personal experience that modeling has been a net positive for your own life, for your own mental health, for your own self-image. Do you see how, and I'm not asking you to speak on anyone else's behalf, but do you see how it could become problematic for other people's mental health, self-perception? Do you see kind of how that happens, how that process unfolds where someone gets into modeling? Maybe it is a positive thing at the beginning. Self-perception, self-image issues, maybe criticism from others, sort of undermine someone, put them in a place of anxiety, depression. Do you see how that happens or not really?
I would say maybe in the past more so, but with today's society, I mean, I used to look up to Victoria's Secret models. They're just these Amazon beauties, tall, perfect bodies, perfect hair, perfect teeth, everything. You look at a model on the cover of Victoria's Secrets today, I don't even idolize them anymore. I feel like, yes, we are looking after people's mental health, but if you look at the cover of this Sports Illustrated model that I just saw, I would not say that she was a advocate of fitness. She didn't look fit. And that kind of bothered me as somebody who's I work very hard. I take a lot of pride in my appearance and my health and my fitness.
Yeah.
And to see that, it doesn't even fit the magazine cover, I do believe in inclusion and in, looking after people modeling for different clothing sizes. That is so important. Having all the different models and all the different clothing sizes. But I just feel like I wouldn't say anymore, do I see models affecting mental health or bringing people down. We've definitely become more inclusive.
Enjoying this episode? Subscribe for more content on finding your own path to success. Every subscriber makes a huge difference to the pod, and we're grateful for everyone. And don't forget to throw us a classy like and comment too to let YouTube know that you're a fan of our stuff. Now back to your regularly scheduled podcasting.
Do you see that as problematic, that there's less emphasis on sort of pride in appearance? So for I feel like for a long time it was, let's look up to the ever since even the 70s and the bodybuilding era and Schwarzenegger and all that, up until now it's sort of been, let's there's the ideal male body type, the ideal female body type, and let's work towards that. Let's idolize that in the fitness world and the sports world and athletics. And then it seems as you talk about, that's sort of shifted now cover of Sports Illustrated or cover of what was the other one you mentioned?
Victoria's Secret magazine.
Yeah, like the models look different. They're not necessarily even like what we'd consider classically fit people. You think that's like it's gone the other way now? It's like a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think before the reason why the shift happened is because a lot of people felt like those body types were unrealistic. That it was like really rare for somebody to look like a Victoria's Secret's model or to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it's like, well, yeah, that's why they're a model. That's why they are in an idol position. You strive to look like that. And although there's the negative side where people say that it causes mental health issues, I also think that it is good to idolize something, to strive, to work towards something, the best version of you.
Yeah.
Yes. And I feel like that's kind of been taken away from us.
So do you like in your own experience, like in the way that you model and the way that you, because you're also a photographer and you're a creative director, and when you do those shoots, like do you sort of focus on those idealized like forms and goals or not really?
Oh, absolutely not. No, I feel like maybe most of my models are that way, but I just took a really beautiful photo. I went to Thailand, just backing it up, went to Thailand for a content trip where I was a content creator. I did photography, modeling, all of that. My trip was like paid for with this company. It was amazing. I didn't shoot with that many models, but one girl in particular was a plus size black model that I really wanted to shoot with because we have those white sand beaches. And so I just like oiled her up and I used like flash photography late at night and I had her roll in the sand and just I felt like it was an artistic a creative outlet for me and a statement, and it was beautiful, and she looked powerful. And so, yeah, I mean, I definitely, as much as I was saying that, there's something to look up to, but I definitely like using all body types in the creative outlet and in photography and anything.
Yeah, no, I feel like we got really caught up in the mental health stuff, which is good, but just quickly again, for people who are tuning in, like, so Ashtyn, in addition to being a model, you also have this whole other side of you. You're a photographer, you're a creative director. You work in nightlife in San Diego. And then you're also a real estate agent. You're a realtor practicing for Oppenheimer Group. Oppenheim. I'm still thinking of the movie.
I know, everybody keeps saying that.
Yeah, I'm like, man, like, do you guys make like nuclear missiles or,
I
or
guess.
do you sell houses? Yeah.
Make them and blow them up.
Exactly. Yeah. That's another way to flip houses, right? But you're originally, as you mentioned before, from Fresno, but then you moved to San Diego about 5 years ago. And in addition to that, so what is the agency you model with right now? Or you?
I actually went from having an agency to no agency. Okay. The agency I was with recently, I didn't agree with, kind of what they were
because
doing.
Of the incident you described, where they asked you to
of the incident
put on
I
the
described,
Native American identity and
I
you
left,
weren't about it.
I left it and I started doing completely freelance.
Freelance. Okay.
So I used my Instagram portfolio. Or I use my Instagram as a portfolio, I should say. And it kind of has been a way for me that has opened doors. It allows me to connect with different businesses. I have a lot of, like, even this outfit that I'm wearing today is somebody who sponsors me.
Can you say who it is? Or?
Lavish Alice.
Lavish Alice.
Yeah, they're like very, very nice clothing. You can find them in Nordstrom or just online. So I have a couple different companies that do that for me. Same as like Nadine Marabi, this beautiful UK-based brand, very thick, high quality, just top tier clothing, which I love. But I also work with a number of San Diego businesses just because of Instagram and
like local businesses,
especially since I came down from Fresno, and I feel like my network of businesses and places that I work with down here it's been so exciting for me. I feel like I've really flourished since I've moved down to San Diego, and that I no longer need an agency because of that. Like, my network has really been my net worth.
Yeah. So what kind of modeling do you do exactly? So, because there's just, a range and diversity of types of models. So like, what, if a business approaches you and says, hey, Ashtyn, we want you to model for us, like what is, like, are you sort of expected to do?
It depends. I've been doing a lot of, what would you call it? It's like, it's on a macro or micro lens. So like they'll do different lip swatches and use my lips for like lip modeling. I have also done makeup for Lawless, the makeup company. They did my makeup and did promos for that. I just did a shoot for Nexus Hair Company. Then I also did one for Jergens recently for their tanning. It's like a tanning, like a self-tanning. People can buy it at like CVS and stuff, but it's actually kind of a bigger brand, so I was excited about it. So it's kind of ranges for me. I mean, typically I would explain myself the photos that I choose to take or of myself when I'm posting on my Instagram would be kind of more high fashion. But then I also do a lot of bikini and fitness as well. I'm not
like,
that tall.
not competitions, but like
not
modeling.
competitions,
Okay.
just
Yeah.
modeling.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not like a fitness, like, you know, I'm not strong like that. I do like Pilates and running. It's kind of more my jam.
Yeah.
So those are just the kind of, but I do, I guess, beauty, I would say. Beauty, fitness, high fashion. Not so much runway, sadly, because I'm not tall enough.
Is that like actually a requirement? Like a certain...
Oh, yeah. For a lot of agencies, even, I would get turned, they would see pictures of me and they would reach out and ask me to model for them. Hey, we want you to be a part of our modeling agency. Can you send us over your, you know, sizes, blah, 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 blah. And as soon as they'd see my height, oh, never mind. You look taller in photos. So I actually got to a point where I started lying about my height back before I started representing myself.
And did you get away with it, or did they catch you?
I got away with it just until I arrived at the event.
And then they were like...
And I remember I arrived, I was modeling for Laguna Seca. I was doing like Umbrella Girls.
Yeah.
And these girls are tall. You know, like the height requirement was like 5'7". I'm like 5'5". And I said I was 5'7". And then, but these girls are like 5'8", 5'10", 5'11", you know, 6 foot. So I arrive and I'm wearing heels and a long dress, so you can't even see that I'm wearing heels, hoping that I can just get away with it.
Slide under the radar.
And
literally,
the modeling manager of all the girls there immediately saw me and goes, looks me up and down. She's like, how tall did you say you were?
Busted.
And surprisingly enough, they kept me coming year after year, even though I lied about my height. I think that they liked my personality and the kind of like the vibes that I brought to the group.
Yeah.
So even though there's like a photo of me and all the girls standing on the track, it's like all the models and then me and then the rest of the models.
Yeah.
Totally didn't fit in, but they still kept me coming back. So
in a weird way, Ashtyn, what you just described, like in terms of the height requirement, you kind of experienced what guys experience on dating apps, where it's like, you know,
height requirement.
The height requirement, you know, right? Like, because you have like now there's like filters you can actually set that like women can actually set these filters. I'm not sure on which apps you can or can't, but some of them you can set a requirement where you like only see guys over 6 foot. And that's like a thing, that's like a trend that people are doing. But even if it's not like in the filter, it's often in the bio.
Dang, that's
like
kind of
my guy friends will tell me like, hey, like you have they'll be like, hey, like this girl's like, she's just, you know,
sorry you're not tall
yeah,
enough.
sorry you're not tall enough. Like, and that's a very common thread. But in a weird way, you kind of experience like the reverse
of it. Because I mean, I have a lot of really tall friends who like maybe don't do modeling, but I'm like, I wish I had your height. Like, you have no idea, like, the doors that would open if I had your height. And they're like, I want to be shorter. Like, I don't want to be taller than guys, you know? Like, so that's, like, an issue for a lot of girls. I'm like, dude, no, wear the heels, even if you're taller than him. Like, rock that model status, you know? Like, I'm like, be proud of it. Be taller than him with heels on. Who cares? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's different when it's, like, for your job, too. Now, in terms of, like, the way modeling has changed over time, so I feel like we were talking earlier about the magazines and we were kind of joking, but like in all seriousness, like the way that modeling has shifted in the last couple of decades due to the internet, I mean, let's talk about that for a bit. Like now you have a day and age where the corporatization of modeling has changed because people can go out on their own, do their own thing, sort of what you're doing, like the freelance. You know, there's also, there's a lot less dependency upon these like corporate institutions because of the internet, because of these apps, because of you know, the rise of these different like platforms and services. So how do you think that modeling has changed since the time that you started, specifically due to the influence of the internet? And like also, like, do you see that as like a net positive, net negative, or any opinion?
Well, I think that that's kind of where the Instagram model came from. You know, it went from all these girls who had to find representation before and kind of representing themselves on this new online platform, you know, known as Instagram, where you're just posting photos and you're able to kind of make your own portfolio online. That now when I am hired for jobs, they ask me what my Instagram is, what my follower count is, you know, what my engagement is as
like
a modeling. It's part of the resume now for modeling. You know, I might not really consider myself an Instagram model. I feel like I'm different than that, but I wouldn't even say, some people say Instagram model as like a derogatory term. And it kind of bothers me sometimes, but it's also because of the over editing. Like if you see my Instagram, I hope that I look like my photos. I don't want to be one of those people who doesn't look exactly like them. And I think that that's where the issue or the derogatory term comes from. But just to speak back on what you were saying about how basically all I'm trying to say is that it's allowed people to represent themselves. It's opened up doors in a whole different way that never existed beforehand.
Did you subscribe yet? If you like our content, it's the easiest way to support the pod. Hit the subscribe button on the bottom right and keep it classy.
Yeah. And like in terms of like the rise of the internet, the rise of, the freelance model, like are there any like drawbacks or like sort of negative challenges associated with that, or do you just see it as like all positive?
I mean, I've definitely felt like some negatives just because, I mean, I could go out and buy some fake followers but just to, get more clout or whatever. Because I have had some people who get no engagement on their photos who would get a job or something, before I would, just because they want to use their Instagram platform as well. But it's like now with all the fake followers, or like, how do you really judge the account's realness? Especially now, engagement even sucks because they Instagram changed it from a timeline to an algorithm based on what they think you'd like to see. So I just feel like everybody's got these little my feathers are like blinders, to like what they want you to look at. And so it's Instagram is kind of, I feel like as much as it became such a positive, I feel like it's falling into the negative now.
Is it the kind of thing where at the end of the day, it just sort of comes down to like how good you are at your job? Or do you feel like models in your situation, especially the freelance, really have to sort of learn how to beat the algorithm, learn like the specifics, ins and outs of Instagram, of these social media platforms? Is that like an important part of the job, or does it just sort of come down to, can you do the stuff well?
I used to think that, I could beat the algorithm. I would spend so much time taking these photos, these really curated, amazing photos, and that would get me, what I needed, what I wanted or strived for in return. But I just feel like they're constantly changing it, that no longer can you catch up or try to figure it out. So you just got to keep doing
what you got to do.
Being true to yourself and what makes you happy, what you want to put out there for others, people that are close to you to see, and just kind of not care. You got to not care.
Now, I think it's like a no duh that like modeling to some extent has always been associated with sex appeal. But like in the last like 10, 20 years, do you feel like, again, the introduction of these different platforms, social media, do you feel like the sexualization of models has risen, changed, stayed the same, or like what can you speak to like personally about that?
It's definitely risen. I mean, even though I have like a smaller amount of followers, there's a lot of companies that will work with me before some people that I know who have substantial amounts more than me, because they're considered a skin account, where the reason they have so many followers is because they show more skin. And companies, as much as, I've talked about followers being a good thing, now there's been a little bit of the transition because all of those follower accounts are male dominated. Whenever, companies are looking to work with me, they ask me, what is your female to male ratio? Because some of those, it's something that companies look at.
So they want a very high male to female ratio.
They want a very high female ratio. If I'm wearing women's clothing, you want my demographic to be to women, and not because I'm showing off more of my body that men are following me for those reasons.
It depends, because in your situation, you're modeling high fashion, but other people, like maybe they are trying to like show more skin.
Yeah,
because of the type of modeling they're doing.
Exactly, and that also gets a lot of people. I mean, people make a lot of money doing that nowadays. So, but it's just the difference in what route you want to take and what you want to do.
Sure. But like, do you feel like some people, I don't know, it seems like there's this perception at least that modeling like on Instagram, on social media, is just all about sex. Do you feel like there's any truth to that? Do you feel like it's just always been that way? Or do you think that that's just like a complete like misperception in terms of this idea that like social media has just turned into this kind of like sex pool of pictures?
I mean, I wouldn't say that it has, but I feel like anywhere you go on any platform, there's going to be people who are, appealing to that. I mean, sex is a huge drive for a lot of people, men especially, women especially, like it's a huge part of life. So I feel like no matter what platform you go to, no matter what, sex is always going to be there, sex appeal. Even, back to my photography, like the artistic way that I like to take photos, that still has sex appeal, but make it art.
Sure.
We're human.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and then one thing before I move on from this topic is like, so in the last, when does anybody know when like OnlyFans started as like a thing? Was that like 5 years ago? Like
not even 5. I
Not
think
even 5.
it was about 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
It was right before the pandemic kicked off. So
Okay.
yeah, maybe about 4 years.
So there's this sort of perception, and I've talked to a couple of people who are in modeling that, again, that it allows like, you know, these freelance people to sort of do their own thing, go out on their own, not be connected to like a corporate like agency. Do you see like OnlyFans specifically as, again, like sort of this like net positive for models, especially for women models, or do you see like drawbacks to that?
You know, I actually take OnlyFans photos for some girls. And for girls who do not show any nudity or any sexual activity on there, it is purely just a little bit more than what they show on Instagram, and they're highly curated, beautiful, artistic photos. And for those women who are choosing to do that, they go, how do I know if I'm doing too much? I go, your moral guideline is if you don't post anything that you're not okay with being leaked on the internet forever. So as long as you are okay with these photos somehow getting leaked, go for it, sis. Do whatever you want. Some people do, you know, something completely different. But as for a woman who wanted to use OnlyFans and, you know, kind of make money from this new thing that everybody's kind of dipping their hands in, do it, but have a moral guideline that you would never disrespect yourself if something got leaked. And I feel like that's kind of a good guideline for other women who do want to get into it but don't know how to navigate that kind of realm.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you're at the point in your career where you kind of really know, okay, this is the kind of like shoots I want to do. This is what I don't want to do. Like you're very well established, but I could see how it'd be confusing for somebody who's new to the agency, who's younger, or who's new to the industry, who's younger. Like figuring out what they're comfortable with can be a challenge. And then the problem is like, yeah, as you said, that stuff's on the internet forever. So
Yes, exactly.
That seems like that could be like problematic for
So just
for
don't
some of these,
post
like,
anything
younger.
that you're not okay with being on the internet forever.
Yeah.
And if you
Rule
keep
of
that
thumb.
in your head, rule of thumb, you'll start you could like check yourself, you know? Like that's what I told my friend. I was like, check yourself. Are you okay with this being on there forever?
Yeah.
Yes, then go ahead. Who cares?
So about the photography, the creative directing stuff that you do. So like what kind of, we talked about what kind of modeling you do, but when you're the one behind the camera and when you're the one doing the shoot, like what kind of like shoots do you do? Like, or do you like to do? What do you enjoy doing? And like what goes into that?
I feel like some of my favorites are kind of more high fashion, editorial. I kind of like more different poses or like things that, you know, like I was telling you, my black friend rolling around in the white sand with the high flash, kind of just more harsh, light, bright images. I also do a lot of nude and boudoir photography of girls, which I kind of started doing around the pandemic. It started out as just like a creative thing that I was doing for a girlfriend. She wanted to like take pictures for her husband for like a book of boudoir before they got married, you know? And I did her hair, I did her makeup, I styled it, I posed her, just did like, I took a full day, and I told her she didn't have to pay me because I was just doing it for fun.
favor.
But once she got the photos back, she goes, Ashtyn, these are absolutely incredible. You made me feel sexy. You made me feel beautiful. I'm paying you the full amount that you deserve. Like, you deserve every penny. And I was like,
And
whoa.
you're like, oh man, maybe I could do that.
Well,
again.
yeah, I was like, maybe I could do that again. I made her feel good about herself, you know? And from there, I didn't even like advertise it. It was kind of word of mouth where I started doing a lot of this nude boudoir photography of girls, especially also me being a female photographer. A lot of women are much more comfortable with me
Yeah, I can
than
imagine.
men. I mean, I've had men who take photos with me that I thought I was comfortable with, and then he's like, look at this video I took. And I hear him on the back of the camera like, oh, yeah, that looks so good, like
Jesus
that.
Christ.
And that's what the playback had in it. I was like listening to this like, oh God, cringe. Like
They
I
showed you
immediately
these videos?
He went to show me it was like a bikini video he's taking, like, you know, but he didn't realize maybe that his voice was being recorded up close
Oh my God.
to the camera. Oh, like, yeah, like cringe.
Yeah. And that
So
happened like more
bad.
than once too.
Yes, I actually had like oh God, if we want to talk about creepy experiences with photographers,
for
this
it.
could go for a while.
What's
I was,
a creepy story? Yeah, go ahead.
let's see, 18 years old. Maybe I was doing like some headshots. And this photographer came in for headshots. And he was like, later at the end, he was like, maybe I could like get you in something more edgy. And I go, actually, I brought like this one-piece swimsuit. I was thinking I could get my hair wet and like just kind of, because it was a studio. So I wanted like these artistic wet hair looked, but I was wearing like a covering, you know, modest bathing suit. And after that, those photos came out great, mind you. I was very happy with them. After that, he says it again. I want to get you in something more edgy. And I was like, so what do you mean by edgy, sir? Because he's like an older man with like a family. And I'm like, you know, I think I was even 17, not even quite 18.
Getting weird.
And so he goes to like his like, you know, thing of little like clothes and stuff, but he pulls out this see-through mesh piece of cloth. And I'm like, that's what you want me in when you say edgy? And so I immediately I was like, actually, I think that let's call the shoot finished.
Yeah,
we're done.
we're done.
And I go like to text my boyfriend at the time, like, this guy's getting really creepy. Like, I'm like, just want to let you know. All of a sudden, he's up behind me with his back pressed against me, and he was reading it over my shoulder. He goes, how would your boyfriend feel if you know I was this close to you right now?
Oh my God. What did you do?
I ran out the building.
You ran out of the
then,
building.
to make it worse.
Did you know martial arts back then, or?
I did. But to make it worse, he then made it a fake account and was using the photos of me in the bikini and asking my little brother's girlfriends to shoot for him with a whole fake name and everything. And I said, do not. He is a predator.
What a jackass.
He is a predator. And I should have reported him to police, and he was to know that
This
he
was
was
like a licensed
using
photographer?
Yes, with his own studio. To know that he was using my photos where I took pictures in a covered bikini to ask my younger brother's little
That's very
girlfriends
disturbing.
who are underage to take photos, just very disturbing.
Yeah,
very disturbing.
but that's like not the only time that's like happened. Something like that, yeah.
Just I feel like it just happens again and again.
You
have
feel like
to be
every
very,
model has that story too?
Every model will have some creepy photographer story. Will have, I mean, I had a photo shoot that I did with a girlfriend even where I had like a nip slip because I was in some, and she posted the photo of it. And I go, wait, we had a conversation that if that did happen, you would not. And you're my girlfriend. Wasn't even a male photographer. She goes, well, this is my art and I want to show my art. And I go, no. I did not sign anything saying that you are allowed to release anything like that. And I made her delete it. And then she reposted it with like a big old star on top of it. She's like, I'm offended because somebody ruined my art. You know, I was just like, girl, I'm down to make art with you, but you also got to have a mutual agreement of
respect,
and respect of the person you're taking.
And I
photos
feel like as a photographer yourself now, as a creative director, like probably like being a woman allows you to approach those levels of comfortability a little differently and to maybe have like a different creative spin on the shoot than a male photographer would. Like talk about that. Like what's the difference? For
sure. So I feel like sometimes especially for like, you know, nude or boudoir or lingerie photos, the male eye kind of tends to look at things a little bit more raunchy, you know? Like I'll notice that the photos that you'll take, that a male would take would be much more raunchy than I feel like I try to, make it sex appeal, but make it art. You know, so it's more of an artistic point of view. I want you to look at the photo and for it to be so beautiful that you almost don't notice she's naked or half naked.
That's not the focus.
Yeah, it's not the focus, but
it's
it
like a
still
bigger
is
idea
there.
there.
Yeah, it's kind of just a bigger idea. And I lived in Spain for a bit, in Europe, and I just remember out there, people would walk around, you know, naked on the beaches. Girls were topless all the time. And because it was just kind of more common, it wasn't so sexualized as it is, I feel like, here in America. Because, like, I've had, like, you know, I mean, as much as I really kind of am there for the free the nipple, I personally won't do it because it's too over-sexualized right now. And people look at it with a different eye than
There's
I
like a
would
stigma attached to that. That's maybe not the same in every culture, though.
And it's not the same in every culture. I mean, if you looked at maybe like an Arab culture, they have the women so covered that, you know, hands and calves are sexy, you know, that has sex appeal. But if you go here, you know, it's, you know, everybody wants to.
Different standards.
Yeah, just completely different standards all over the world.
So what kind of clientele do you primarily shoot with? Like if people like were to go to your like Instagram, if people like look at the kind of shoots that you do, like what are the kind of like women that you work with primarily, and like what is sort of the goal of what are their kind of goals like look like?
I feel like I haven't really shared, I can't really share a lot of the photos that I take just because, you know, protecting the women that I take photos of. As for like, I mean, photography is more of a hobby for me. It's not my main job. It's just something I do as a creative outlet. Typically, the girls that I've been shooting happen to be just my friends who are absolutely stunning. That I just will be like, hey, can I use you as my canvas? Can I please do your hair and makeup? And just, I got to get some creativity out. So sometimes it's just kind of me asking a girlfriend to help out with. I wouldn't say that I have too large of a clientele anymore just because I've, shifted my gears to real estate and other things.
Yeah, which I want to talk about in a second. But last question I have on that topic, though, is just like for when you are getting into creative headspace and when you are getting doing a shoot, like talk about the process that you get into. Like how do you find yourself to be creative, and how do you bring out the best in the other person in terms of like making the shoot work both ways?
So for me, I like to find some kind of inspiration if I can, or I try to think of things that are like a little outside of the box, not just like, sitting pretty pictures. Like, how can I make this different, And something that I really love about the camera is it's all about perspective. So when I'm taking a photo, so for example, I took these beautiful photos of my friend, and I really wanted, we were just in my house, and I don't have a studio or anything cool, but the time of day, I saw the light coming out of the window, and the way it was on my bed, it was just beautiful, sharp light with sharp shadows. So I took a sheet and I laid it across the bed and onto the carpet, covering all of the floor. And I go, I want you to lay in this little spot so that those shadows and the bright light hit you in a certain way. And I know it looks funny from if you take a couple steps back, but if you look through the camera, the photo that I captured, she said it was her favorite photo ever taken of her. And she takes a lot of photos. She does a lot of modeling. And it's just the way the light hit her eyes. She's, in lingerie, and she's like looking up at me, but the light is hitting her eyes, and then the shadows on her, the dark, the light, just the contrast. It was such a beautiful photo. And it's all about perspective. The camera, you can have weird things in the background, but the way that you juxtapose it can really change the whole image. And I feel like that's something that I really love, being able to have control over. I've also been on the other end where I have a photographer taking pictures of me, and I can tell immediately he's not doing what I had the vision of in my head. So I'm a little bit of a control freak in that way. I'm telling another photographer I don't like the way, I can just tell you're already doing it wrong, which is probably rude of me.
To be good at anything, you got to be a little obsessive,
yeah,
right?
exactly. I'm like,
whether
show
it's
me what
modeling
you
or
took.
The photography.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be picky. You have to kind of take control. And I did. I was like, I set all of this up. This is the image I want you to capture. I can already tell you're not getting the correct. And so I look at his camera and I'm like, I literally positioned it. I go, I want it right here. And then I got back behind it. So he just had to click it.
There you go. And for like the shoots and also for modeling, like just both, I'm curious to know if there's specific inspirations that you have. And what I mean by that is either other models or photographers that you like sort of looked up to or like researched, or is there a specific style that's very motivating and inspirational to you that you draw from, either in your own modeling or in your photography and your creative shoots?
I would say that editorial is kind of like a big one that I like a lot of like artificial light or, dark high contrast. I do like crazy makeup, trying to like explore my own makeup talents. I did this one shoot of my friend where I put like dark blue makeup all over her, kind of like slicked her hair back. And I did like, Twiggy, the model Twiggy. It's like an old fashioned, like 70s, or maybe it was like even 60s. But she would draw eyelashes on, but instead I like put false eyelashes on, kind of like spread out underneath her eyes as well on top. And I just did like these really close ups of her just kind of, pulling her eyebrow up and just really different poses that maybe are uncomfortable, but sometimes translate really well in the camera lens. And I can't remember any photographers off the top of my head that I really love, but I do have a couple. I just can't remember their names at the moment.
Hey, Ashtyn, have you ever shot any male boudoir?
I actually just had a man reach out to me to do couples, but not male. No,
Okay.
I haven't done any.
Did you respond to them yet?
I did respond to them.
You don't have to talk about it. If you want to.
He's like a friend of mine, and I felt like it was kind of because he wanted me and his wife to,
Really?
it started getting flirty. So that's kind of why I didn't end up taking
Is that
the photos.
like?
I would have been perfectly fine with it, but
Except for like the way it was.
I just
done.
hope that he doesn't see this podcast and know that I'm talking about him.
Well, we're not naming any names, so I think there's no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
But do you like? that's the thing is like with modeling, with photography, like we're kind of joking about it now, but like how do you like walk that fine line between like professionalism and like, you know, crossing those boundaries? Like how do like you've had the creepy experiences, like the stories, like how do you like maintain yourself and like maintain those like boundaries and level of respect for yourself while at the same time like having creative freedom? Like, hey there, classy viewers. Thanks for listening to our podcast. We're dedicated to providing you with quality content that inspires and brightens your day. But keeping it classy can be expensive. If you enjoy our content, we're asking for your support for the podcast using the donation link in the description below. Donations mean the world to us, and even as little as $5 can make a huge difference in helping us make this podcast a reality. Plus, donors are added to our shortlist to be the first to receive exclusive offers on merch, extra content, and even chances to appear on the pod. Anything you can give would truly be appreciated. Now get back to enjoying the rest of the podcast, and as always, stay classy. What is that?
I've really learned that being completely honest with how you feel during a situation, just like saying the elephant in the room, is like the most important thing. Like, hey, I don't like that you just did that. That was really uncomfortable. Did you intend to? Or, you know, like, because sometimes you don't really know what people's intentions are.
Sure.
So calling them out on,
yeah,
it could be an accident. So calling them out on it immediately will give you one of two things. Either they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. And like check them. Or you'll kind of realize and they'll, double down. But even I've just noticed that kind of goes anywhere in life. Like if I'm being hit on by somebody and he's like, hey, can I have your number? And I say no. And he's like, why, you have a boyfriend or something? I go, actually, sir, I just don't want your number.
Yeah.
I don't want to give him the satisfaction of saying, yeah, I have a husband actually. But no, I just don't. Yeah. And I feel like that's more powerful than being like, oh, I have a husband. Yeah, I don't want your number. No, I just don't want your number, sir. Thank you.
Is that challenging also sorry to cut you off, but also like in nightlife, like working in nightlife, like having, I'm sure people hit on you constantly, is that different from like with modeling, like the boundaries that you have to set, or like how do you?
Probably worse. Like I feel like that's probably where I got my backbone for it, you know? Like, guys, you know, I can get you a bigger ring than that. You shouldn't have to work in here. Like just constant. And I've grown such a backbone that I don't let it get to me. I also keep getting the classic real estate bottle service, avenue. I'm like, oh my God, shut up, guys. There's a reason, okay? I can work 2 days a week, 1 day a week, and support myself to do whatever I want for the rest of it. I think it's a really smart avenue. I'm like, instead of making memes, maybe we should make a how-to video,
Love that.
Contact me about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will.
Now, I also wanted to ask, like, in terms of the nightlife stuff, like, so do you, like, as far as, like, nightlife and, like, modeling, like, is there any like kind of connection between the two, like for you, or not really?
I mean, the place that I work at right now, Sidebar. is absolutely incredible. Like that whole place is a huge team. Like the reason why I got the job there is because I used to model for them first.
Okay.
The owner of it, Frankie, would hire me for their summer cocktails, or I did a shoot for Valentine's Day. So I was used all over their promos as for modeling way before I ended up working there. And it was just because I loved the place so much. I loved the environment. I would go there all the time as an influencer to party, always took care of me. And now I love working there. So it's just kind of, I never really wanted to be in bottle service, but this is such an amazing place. And I love, the environment. I love the money. I love, I have a lot of aspects about it that are just pluses.
Do you think there's anything, so San Diego, nightlife, I mean, I know you've been in San Diego for about 5 years now. Do you feel like there's anything sort of unique about the nightlife scene here as compared to other places? What stands out to you about nightlife in San Diego?
I mean, I feel like nightlife in San Diego to Fresno, excuse me, compared to Fresno, there isn't really any nightlife. It's lackluster at best. And once I moved out here, I find that I started going. I met most of my best friends by going out here. Not even just nightlife, just when I think I met my best friend Liv at Pool House because of an influencer event.
Shout out to Pool House.
I know. Shout out to Pool House, my best friend. Thank you. It really opens doors because I feel like a lot of people that I've met out here and made my network of connections with was kind of from going out and doing nightlife experiences.
I feel like that's true for a lot of models too, right?
It is kind of important to go out. And I feel like I've gotten to a point now where I do work in the nightlife, but I don't really go out anymore. I feel like the only way I am going out to big events is if it's like a gala or if it's like a business thing, just because I feel like I've progressed. Like I've made my network from going out, and now it's a different level of network that I'm networking.
Sure.
And so it's not so much nightlife anymore, even though I'm still working in that area.
Absolutely. Before we move on to the next topic, I wanted to tell viewers that we're doing something now, a little new segment. We're doing street interviews, going out asking people on the street about tips to success, entrepreneurship, business, that sort of thing. So with that being said, here's what we have.
Oh, Troy. All right, I'm Steve. Nice to meet you. So Troy, we're asking people about success. We're talking about what it takes to succeed in the business world in 2024. What do you feel like, if you had to list one thing, is the most uncomfortable truth about what it takes to succeed in the business world?
Ooh, great question. Being able to accept feedback. Being able to accept feedback. And I already said one, but being able to accept failing forward.
Failing forward.
Yeah.
You mean like in terms of like when you fail, just do it in a way to where you like learn from the mistake, move on, collect yourself.
Being able to take criticism and the feedback. People are gonna try to help you. Being able to take that feedback and the criticism in the right way. And then also too, with failing forward, like learning from the mistakes. I think if you're not failing forward, you're not trying.
Okay, gotcha.
So-
And then one more question I had for you is, I don't know if you've ever worked for a business or started a business yourself, but for somebody who's maybe trying to start a business or feeling entrepreneurial in 2024, do you have any sort of advice for somebody like that? Maybe a younger person who's thinking about starting their own thing?
Yeah. I've done both. I've started a business and I've worked for corporations, and I've come from nothing and very humble beginnings. And I would have to say, believe in yourself. You're your biggest motivator. Get up every day, grind hard, and never let anyone tell you can't do anything. Because the person to the left of you is no better than the person to the right of you. And I think we all can just strive to be better and just never give up on yourself. So,
All right, thank you. What's your name one more time?
Troy.
Troy. All right.
Yeah.
Steve.
He had some powerful stuff there. What do you think about Troy?
I mean, I think that he's definitely right. He's talking about, not letting anybody tell you that you can't do something. That's really true. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times that I even thought I couldn't do something, but because I still tried, I surprised myself. And I think that that's a really important thing that a lot of people need to realize, is that, you lose 100% of the shots that you don't take. You have to at least try, at least give it a go, and you'll surprise yourself a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And, just believing in yourself, even and showing up for yourself, putting in the work, doing, all those things combined create success.
Do you feel like there's a balance between, so like you want to have people in your life that give you good feedback, people that pour into you positively, and there's also a level of self-belief you have to have? Like, how do you maintain that boundary of like, okay, like believe in yourself, but also like take feedback? Or is it more of like, you just have to believe in yourself to the point where even if other people don't believe in you, you still keep going forward, you still keep pushing yourself? Have you ever found yourself in that kind of boat?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I was going to school to originally right out of high school. I was just a little background. I was a super nerd. I took anatomy, physiology, biochemistry in high school. I wanted to be a facial reconstructive plastic surgeon, but mostly because that's what my mom told me. I was good at science. Do what's smart. I go, Mom, I want to do acting and modeling. No, that's your hobby. This is your job. This is your career. And there was a point where I had biomedical research internship at UCSF. I really had my foot in the door. I had that in my senior year of high school. I enroll in college, and like I said, shooting your shot. I had just started dabbling in modeling, and I was more so interested in acting back then. But I applied for this modeling job, wishful thinking, that it was all expenses paid, to Ibiza, 3 weeks, plus $300 a day, plus, food. And they wanted brunettes. And I've always been kind of this strawberry blonde because I'm Scottish, British, Irish.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up getting it. Like I sent in my headshots and like everything just to do it. I forgot about it. I thought there's no way I would get that, but then I get a FaceTime call interview and they're like interviewing me to make sure that I look like my photos. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I was tanning outside. I would have gotten ready. They go, no, perfect. We wanted to catch you off guard. They go, you're perfect. Do you have a passport? Can you come? And I go, I have to drop out of college. Are you serious? Like, how serious are you? They're like, go get your passport. My mom's crying. She's like, please don't leave. You're going to get kidnapped. I go, Mom, this is a great opportunity.
So was there ever any hesitation for you, or was it?
For me, no. I literally drove to San Francisco the next day and got it within the same day, and I left by myself at 18.
Killer.
Yeah. Ended up, what was supposed to only be 3 weeks, turned into 8 months in Spain, and then they picked a handful of girls to go to London. Again, don't know why I didn't think I was going to get picked. Ended up getting picked. They took me to England for another year. And I remember saying, I don't have any winter clothes. You'll have to send me back home to repack so I can have a winter wardrobe because it seemed tropical in Ibiza.
Yeah.
And they go, how about we just give you $3,000 and you go shopping for a whole new wardrobe? Like,
How about that? Doesn't
perfect.
sound like a bad deal either.
Even better. Thank you. But yeah,
Here's that
I just
credit
say
card.
that even though my mom didn't want me to go and, wanted me to do the smart route, I still tried to, pursue what I wanted, and it had a really beneficial result.
Now, I'm gonna ask you the same question that I asked Troy in that interview, which is like, so for people who are thinking about like, it doesn't just have to be modeling, but like the freelance route of life, like sort of, going out really doing your own thing that doesn't fit into like, the kind of common structure,
Like,
the
where
box
would
that we
you
put
start?
around life, around corporate life, around business life. Like for somebody who wants to do something like what you did, like what's the most important, like intangible, like conceptual, like advice that you can sort of give to people who are in the position who think like, I want to do this, I'm not sure. Like they're kind of at the starting point. Like what is the biggest piece of advice you can give to someone like that?
I think my biggest piece of advice, this is something that I actually did myself. I wrote down a list of 100 companies that I wanted to work with, that I wanted to model for or act for. And using Instagram, I would go through 5 of them a day and send them a DM. Hey, I love your brand. I love your company. I would love to work with you. I would love to model for you, And, I sent 5 a day, and I still do this to this day, maybe not quite as often, but if I see a brand that I like, that I find inspiring, I will reach out to them. And I can tell you how many no's I get or how many non-responses I get. But then Dolce Vita, the shoe company that I love and I'm wearing right now, is, yes, we'd love to work with you. Huge
Shout out
company.
Dolce Vita.
Yeah, shout out Dolce Vita, wearing them right now. And it just kept happening. More and more companies that I thought would never Express just responded to me on Instagram. Express, the kind of workers company, or like really nice kind of what's the word, business casual kind of company. Yeah, they just responded to me, said, here, reach out to our PR company. Gave me the email. I have started to curate my own list of emails in my phone of companies that I've worked with on Instagram. And let me tell you, it has turned into one of these kind of scrolls of different companies that I have all of their PR emails. And even if you do get a no, this is something important too. Even if you reach out, your favorite top companies that you really want to work with, they probably won't respond to you the first time. Keep working on yourself. Try again. Keep working on yourself. Try again. I've had a company that I reached out to maybe 5 times, but as I'm working on myself, I finally got a response, and now I'm working with Revolve. And that was a company that I wanted to work with for a very long time. So it's just, keep trying, keep working on yourself in the process, and just shooting your shot. Keep shooting your shots, always.
Yeah. So I love that. And with that, I wanted to touch on the real estate stuff real quick. So for those, so obviously, like before we started taping today, we were talking a little about real estate. And we were talking about how kind of your husband helped you get into it. But like, what was the point where you were like, hey, like maybe I don't necessarily have a background or formal training in this, but like that doesn't matter. I'm going to go for it anyways. Like what gave you that confidence?
It wasn't even necessarily like I had the confidence again, like I was saying, like I thought I was going to get it, but it's just that act of trying and where you surprise yourself. And yes, I got my real estate license because my husband was like, you could work for me. I have my own brokerage. So I got it. And, back to me kind of talking about networking. I told you earlier I was at the Teddy Ball event, ended up networking, meeting some people who worked with Oppenheim and another person who was like
Not
a title.
Oppenheimer.
No, Oppenheim, yes.
Not the movie.
Not the movie,
Sorry,
the TV show on
make that
Netflix.
one more time.
And yeah, I ended up getting invited to their Christmas party, which my intentions of going to, I was excited, but my intentions of going to the Christmas party was only to shake hands and to network. And, continue networking because I was in the real estate area. And there was a part of me who thought, wow, how cool would it be to work for the Oppenheim group? I had that wishful thinking, still doubted myself, didn't think that I would get it. And I go to this event, there's 500 people, I get to shake hands with Jason Oppenheim, I make a point to. Continuing along, I get invited back to their private dinner where instead of 500 people, there's like 20 people at Javier's. And my friend who invited me personally introduced me to Jason and was like, hey, this is Ashtyn. She actually has her real estate license. Just wanted to connect you two. So we chat for like 5 minutes and he goes, you're really cool. I'll be right back. And so he goes and he's chatting, he's doing his social thing, and he comes and he sits down and chats with me for about an hour. And he is like, hey, Matt, have you met Ashtyn? She's awesome. I want you to interview her at the San Diego office. And he's like, yeah, I already met her. She's great. We already exchanged info. And just like that, within a week, I got at the interview and I got the job within 5 days. Just boom, boom, boom. And I'm working, they have me set with a girl who's mentoring me. She's really amazing, super sweet, intelligent, knowledgeable girl named Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Which I actually love the name Charlotte. It's my dog's name too, so it was kind of funny.
What kind of dog do you have?
A Labradoodle.
Labradoodle.
I have a lot of dogs actually, so.
A lot of dogs, okay. I just have Golden Doodle. Beautiful dog.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you, so what is it like working for the Oppenheim brothers? I mean, they're a pretty big deal in the real estate world. Like, what has that experience been like? I mean, I know it hasn't been that long, but still, new. Like, what has that process been like for you, and what have you learned?
I feel like Jason is so knowledgeable. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but he was also, I believe, an attorney, like passed the bar class. So he has so much knowledge, not just of real estate, but also of like stipulations and laws and other things that are really important so that he can guide us in the correct route. Like I've gone to a couple meetings where he's there and things that he talks about are very like eye-opening things that I didn't know. And I feel like I'm already learning so much just by being a part of this group. I am showing my first open house this weekend. It's actually one that my husband had flipped. And so I'm kind of excited that, with they don't, at the Oppenheim group, they were not taking people with no experience. I think Jason just kind of told me that he saw something in me that, with my friendliness, with my knowledge, the way that I carried myself, that he thinks that I would go far in real estate, which is exciting to hear. But as of right now, I haven't sold a house, but I'm hoping to do so soon. I have somebody who wants to buy one for $2.5 million. I have another friend who wants to buy one for $700,000. I might co-list soon on my friend's property that he owns in Mount Soledad, and he wants to rent it for like $30,000 a month. So that would be another thing. So I do have all of these things that I'm already bringing to the table despite being so new. So that's something that I'm proud of. The one thing that I've noticed with being with the Oppenheim group is we do have an office, brand new office in downtown La Jolla on Girard and Butler. People walking by will be videoing us from at the windows, trying to take videos because of the TV show. I mean, we don't have a Selling San Diego TV show. I don't know if we will. It has not been mentioned. I mean, I hope so. It would be really cool to be casted in something like that.
You would do it?
I would do it. Yeah. I mean, I feel like especially with my background of acting and modeling and everything combined with the real estate, it kind of somehow I was guided, manifested this avenue that kind of combines them all together, which is really cool.
All right, any directors out there? Ashtyn's auditioning. All right. I wanted to ask you the TV show. Like, do you watch it yourself? And like, has that like, have you been like sort of following that in relation to like your work or?
You want to know a funny story? Is I had never seen it. Okay. I heard about it. I knew that it was a cool real estate, show, but I had not seen it until I got the job. And then I was like, I'm going to do some research and start watching it and see what the hype's all about. And it is very entertaining.
I've never seen it.
Yeah. I think start watching it. It's fun. I also love to just be able to look into all of these luxury real estate homes because they take you on tours of all these really nice houses. And that was kind of an aspect that I really liked. But then also just me watching the show now after becoming a real estate agent, I understand the lingo, the terms. I'm actually like kind of learning things by watching the show that are beneficial to me that I can carry on. Like
educational.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, this is educational purposes now for me.
Now, the last thing I wanted to ask you is just like, so between the real estate, between the modeling, between the fact that, you're still like, doing these photo shoots and, you're directing stuff, like what, and then nightlife, and there's just like so much going on in your life.
Many hats.
Like how do you do it? Like there's like no easy answer, but it's just like what is the key for you to staying organized, staying disciplined? Like we like to talk about, because people that come to the show are always like top performers in the field. So we like to talk about like just like what is the key for you? Everybody looks different. Like for staying not just organized, but also and competent, but more than competent. Like also like top performer in these different areas. Like. What does it take?
I think to start off, staying organized was something that it's kind of hard to do when you have, like even today, I had to reschedule on you 3 times because I have meetings that come up after this, and your schedule starts to get stacked and stacked and stacked. I used to have like a little, schedule book, but if I lost that schedule book, I would lose my head. I would lose my whole mind, So I actually transitioned to putting everything in my phone calendar. So like I have, alerts for certain things if I need to remember. I have my schedule on there based on time. If I need travel time in there, like I add little gaps for myself. Feeding myself, like I'll keep like protein bars or like certain things in my bag in my car. I have like changes of clothes in my car, so if I needed to like put on something professional and I was out and I needed a meeting, keep that in my car, just kind of being ready for like the random things that'll come up. If you're prepared for those, then you're kind of a step ahead of most people already.
Yeah.
What was the other half of the question?
Just like what does it take to like not just be like competent in these fields, but like also like a top performer, like and like applying that across the modeling, photography, the real estate, everything.
I think that it's the effort that you have to put forward that a lot of people don't realize. For at least modeling, like people want to sit back and be discovered, and that's kind of not realistic. You got to put yourself out there. You got to try. You got to ask for what you want. Closed mouths don't get fed. Same thing with real estate, like you want to go get a listing. I just went door knocking for my first time. My mentor is teaching me how to cold call. So we're going out, we're going after it. We're not just sitting and waiting for things to fall in our lap, even though that does happen. It's not realistic if you want to be successful.
I feel like that's a good motto for life in terms of like the going and knocking on doors is like not like sitting and waiting for success to come to you, but taking that first step, taking that initiative and saying like, hey, like actually, if I want this to happen, if this is actually my dream, I'm going to be the one to do it. I'm going to be the one to make it happen.
100%. As I was driving up in here, I go, this is a cute neighborhood. I should go door knocking after this. I was literally already prioritizing. I put the zip code in my phone. I'm going to have my title agent send me over some things.
Yeah, maybe Rob, the neighbors around here, maybe Rob can help you out there.
I'll give you guys some of my business cards, actually.
Sure.
But no, Ashtyn, it's been great having you on the show. I mean, like sort of just to like wrap it all together, I guess, like for people, especially, because you're a model, because you're a woman, like for people who maybe at the starting point, again, like for maybe young women who are thinking about being models, like what's like the key like takeaway in terms of what you've seen over the course of your career, like is the most like meaningful aspect of like what you do that you think like if there's anything else like in the course of a modeling career that you could impart to somebody who's maybe just getting started, to somebody who's thinking about pursuing that route, like what has been the most meaningful aspect of it all to you?
I feel like for me, the most meaningful aspect in the beginning was just kind of giving me that self-confidence that I like really lacked. But then from there, just the doors that it started to open and how do I explain this? I feel like being a model and being kind of something that's in the public eye or, being put yourself out there, it's very rewarding because it hypes you up in a way that it's different than like just your friends, hyping you up. Like, I don't know how to answer this question properly. I feel like I wrote it down.
Is it because there's a sense of, your work isn't just confined to you, it's not confined to maybe even like people that care about you, but it's like it's on public display in that way, so you're kind of the validation, the affirmation you're getting is coming from like all these different places, all these different people you don't even know, and that like is that like empowering?
It really is empowering. I mean, it can also like go one way or the other because people get like preconceived notions of you, but they don't really know you. Like I can't tell you the amount of times that I've had people who have followed me on Instagram be like, oh, I already know you, I follow you on Instagram, chat with them for a little bit, and they're like, you're a really cool person. Like, I'm sorry, I just had this idea of you in my mind that I thought you were gonna be a bitch, And I'm like, wow, well, I'm happy to know that they had those and that I was able to change them just by being myself, and there's pieces that are put out of you that that are you never get to choose a lot of the photos that are being put out whenever you model or do photography or like, are having photos or videos taken of you. I don't never get to choose the end product, which is kind of something that sucks. Or sometimes I don't even get to see it until people are sending it to me later, which can be hard. But at the same time, it's also really cool for people to spot them before I even do. Like I did a photo shoot for iTan, which I didn't know that they were also using it for a commercial. And then like my brother-in-law was like, oh my God, I was just in like a restaurant and they, you know, the sports bar and you come on all the screens at once, you know, and he's taking a video and sending it to me and that made me feel really cool. I'm like, wow, I feel so cool. And I try to like stay really humble. Like I actually have a girlfriend. So when I first moved down here, became a server just to, you know, make money until I like figured things out. And I met this girl that I'm taking care of and she goes, I hope this isn't weird, but I actually already have followed you on Instagram for a long time. And I go, that's not weird at all. That actually makes me feel really cool. Thank you for saying it. Also, can I get your number? Can we be friends?
Yeah.
Mind you, me and this girl, she was a bridesmaid at my wedding. Like we actually became really close friends.
There you go.
You know? So, I mean,
that.
some people, I have had the opposite where like maybe I'm on the other end. I follow this person on Instagram. I've seen them out before and you bring it up to them and they let it get to their head. You know, they make it feel like they're like better than other people. And I feel like you have to really like not think that. Yeah, keep that down. Like, yeah, I can be excited and feel cool, but like stay
it's
humble.
not like comparing it to other people.
It's comparing it to myself and trying to keep leveling up within my own heart.
Yeah. I lied. One more question, which is like, if you have a like career, so regardless of how your career path goes, like at the end of the day, when the modeling is all said and done, you know, when your career is on the tail end, like, do you, at some point, like, do you like want people to look up to you and think of you a certain way? Like, is there sort of a legacy that you sort of want to leave behind in terms of maybe like this is like as a role model to young women, to other models, in some way, shape, or form? Like, is there some way that you would like your legacy to be remembered?
I mean, I would say yes, definitely. I came from somebody who was a super nerd, but also was taking pride in my appearance and, you know, doing my hair and makeup every day. And I remember a teacher told me in front of the whole class, goes, "This isn't a fashion show." And I remember thinking, I wasn't even doing anything that was disruptive or like nothing warranted that kind of response from him. And I remember thinking, well, I'm just doing things that are making myself feel confident. I feel better when I get up and I do my hair and I do my makeup and I dress nice to come to school. And I was doing great in the classes. I was a straight A student. You know, I didn't understand why I couldn't do both. Yeah. Why you couldn't have brains and beauty, and why I was shamed or put down or poked at about it. No, I think that if anything I want to teach people is that you can also like not know what you're doing with your career path in life. And, you know, me getting my biological science degree and then doing modeling and then doing real estate, and, you know, life takes so much turns and you just have to come at it with like an open heart and be willing to navigate it through whatever. Because if you try to set yourself like, you know, if you think this is what my future is going to be and you don't allow yourself to have an open heart to anything else, you can set yourself up for a lot of letdown and a lot of, you know, just not feeling fulfilled. But if you're more open and you're like, you know, this is where I am at now and this is what life is kind of guiding me to now, I think that it'll really open more doors because you're more open-minded or more open-minded, and it'll just make you more happy and successful in the long term.
I love that. Now, as we go, just do you have, for people who maybe want to check out your modeling or who want to do your photography, do you have like social handles, ways people can reach you, that sort of thing?
Yeah, totally. So for my Instagram personal page, if you wanted to follow me there, it's Ashtyn, Ashtyn. For my photography page, God, I have so many Instagrams, bear with me. For my photography page, it's Ashtyn's Lens. So that's ASHTYNSLENS. And then if you wanted to buy or sell a house, hit me up on my other Instagram page, which is Ashtyn Zerboni, spelled ASHTYNZERBONI.
Awesome. Well, Ashtyn, absolutely loved having you on today. It's been our privilege, and you know, let's do this again at some point, and I want to hear more crazy stories, more creepy stories. It's all, you know, I think like what makes like the podcast cool is like, you know, you can get the behind the scenes perspective too. You know, I used to do like journalistic interviews and you have to keep things very professional and straight up, but I love like hearing the stories. You know, the stories is kind of what makes us, you know, it's like what makes us as people.
Right now you got to kind of know me as a whole, but then we can dive into the other fun, more interesting, nitty-gritty things later.
All right. Well, episode 69, Stay Classy podcast, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. That's a wrap. This has been another recorded episode of Stay Classy Podcast with your host, Steve Wire. Thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, you can find all of our content at our website at stayclassypod.com. And thanks to our production sponsor and partner, MaxLux Media. You can find them at maxluxmedia.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Every subscription helps and goes a long way towards ensuring that we can continue to produce content for viewers like yourself. Thanks so much. Stay classy.